Okay, I'm going to talk about how to solve one-step equations with addition and subtraction. So we're going to go through three examples that have addition and subtraction in equations, and we're going to have a mix of like fractions, decimals, and whole numbers. So the first example we're going to go through is x minus 31 equals 27. Okay, so we need to remember the rules that we came up with. If you don't know what the rules are, they're on the side here in black. The three rules that we need to remember when we're solving equations. Okay, those aren't steps because we don't have to do them in a certain order, but when we solve an equation, all three of these have to be satisfied at some point. Okay, so if you don't have these in your notes, then you need to get those in your notes. Watch the video that explains them if you're not sure what they mean, and that will help you. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at which side of the equal sign the variable's on, because our first rule tells us that we need to get the variable alone. Okay? So an equation is split into two sides, and it's split by the equal sign. So on the left side of this equation, there is the variable minus 31. Okay, so we ask ourselves, what operation is the variable involved in? Well, it's involved in subtraction. So we're going to use the opposite operation to get the variable alone. So instead of subtracting 31, we're going to add 31. By using the opposite operation, negative 31 plus 31 becomes 0. So we can really just cross it off, which leaves us with x all by itself on this side of the equal sign. Okay? Now what we need to do is, rule number 3 tells us what you do to one side, you must do to the other. Well, what did we do on the left side of the equal sign? We added 31. So we're going to add 31 to this side. Okay? So 27 plus 31 is 58. So our final answer is x equals 58. Okay, so that is how you do a one-step equation with addition or subtraction. Okay, make sure that you write the variable first, and that you always have the variable equals whatever the answer is. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, so the second equation we're going to do, it has fractions in it. So we have 3a plus y equals 7a. So I always just split the equation in half with the equal sign and look to see which side is the variable on. In this case, y, the variable, is on the left side, and it's being added to 3a. Okay, so we need to do the opposite of 3a, and this is a positive number because there's nothing in front of it. If this was negative, there'd be a negative sign here, but it's not, so it's positive. So we need to do the opposite of 3a, which is negative 3a. 3a minus 3a is 0, so that goes away. And we have a positive y, which means y is all by itself. Bring down the equal sign. Okay? Our third rule tells us that what we do to one side, we must do to the other. So we're going to subtract 3a. Since we subtracted 3a from this side, we're going to subtract 3a from this side. So minus 3a. And if you need to do that on the side, you can do 7 over 8 minus 3a, which equals 7 minus 4 is 4. 8 minus 8, or the denominator stays the same when you're subtracting fractions. So we get 4a, and if you reduce that, 4a reduces by 4, with 1/2. So y is equal to 1/2. Okay? Let's try another one. Okay, this one has decimals in it. So we have 2.4 equals z plus 1.78. Well, we're going to split the equation in half at the equal sign and ask yourselves which side is the variable on. Well, this right side of the equation is where the variable is. The variable is z. And so we need to get z all by itself. So we're going to use the opposite operation to get the variable alone. Okay, so the opposite of this, the operation that's involved in is addition because it's being added to 1.78. So we need to do the opposite of positive 1.78, and that is subtract 1.78. Okay, that ends up to be 0, so we can cross it off and we get z all by itself. Okay. The third rule says what you do to one side, you must do to the other. So we're going to subtract 1.78. And when you do that with decimals, you got to make sure that you line your decimals up. Okay? So I'm going to add a 0 here to fill that spot, and then I'm going to subtract. So I get 0.62. So I'm going to bring everything down. 0.62 equals z, and we like to write the z, or the variable, first, so we're just going to flip it. So my final answer is z equals 0.62. Okay? If you have any other questions, make sure you get those answered, and make sure that if you didn't understand it the first time watching this video, go ahead and watch it again. That'll probably help you as well. Okay? This was one-step equations with addition and subtraction. Okay, if you need help with multiplication and division, make sure you watch the video on one-step equations with multiplication and division.